Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Welcome to another edition of Mass Impact, the educational podcast. Now, look, the reason why I started this, I truly believe that education is the way to close the gap, the wealth gap, the digital divide gap, the opportunity gap. Look, the American dream gap. Can I be honest? Everybody's not experiencing the American dream in the way it's supposed to be experienced. So the reason why we started the Mass Impact, the educational podcast, is to close that gap. Now look, mass is simple. It means motivate, actionable steps, which means what? We're going to give you strategies every week. So we're not just going to motivate you and inspire you, which is important, but we're going to give you actionable steps. And look, this is a support system, y'all. Thus Mass. It's your boy E.T. Now you know. Let's go.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey guys, always excited about education. You know, always excited about our babies. And it really doesn't matter what's happening external because of what's happening internal with us. You know, so I don't care what the climate in America is. I know what our goals are and our visions are, and we're going to stay focused. You know, I always like to say, I love the UPS or the USPS, United States Postal Service mantra, and that is rain, sleet, snow. And you live in the Midwest, listen to me, I don't know where you're listening from, but if you're from the Midwest, you know that the only people that don't get stuck in the snow is the post people. They don't, they dropping mail off and they car, I don't know what kind of vehicle they have, but I don't care what the weather is, they dropping that mail off. And that's what we want your thought process as educators to be. It does not matter what's happening. We're going to educate. We're going to inspire. We're going to bring hope, you know, to teachers, you know, the administrators and students. So again, mass impact, massive impact, y'all. So we're talking about being motivated. What motivates us? What motivates you? We're talking about action steps, because it's one thing to be motivated. It's another thing to have a plan of action. And then more importantly, if you're doing anything in this world, you need support. You know, you need a support system because some days aren't going to be your best days. You know, some days you're not going to feel like it. But if you have that right team, I just remember, you know, MJ with the flu game and Scotty having to hold MJ up. You know what I'm saying? Right. So MJ was one of the best ever, but he still was struggling physically at that point, you know, but Scotty was like, I'm gonna hold you up, you know, I'm gonna be there for you. And they were able to prevail. So we're your Scotty Pippen. I know it's almost the end of the school year, or we're getting close to the end of the school year. It's that last lap in the 4x4, you know. So Katie, specifically, what are we talking about today? And what's our topic?
Yeah, it is springtime. And so you just said it, teachers and students are seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. So we want to just like re-energize and talk about some exciting things going on in the world of education. And I want to hear about some exciting things you guys both have going on recently and coming up too. So let's just chat about what's happening.
Yeah, I know I got an exciting piece of information from Vidal not too long ago, you know. I don't know if he's able to share it yet, but he's doing some amazing things in Chicago. And let me say this to those of you who are putting in that work, and sometimes it just seems like nobody sees you. You know, keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, I always say this: if nobody's giving you a plaque, you know, if nobody's inviting you to the award banquets, if nobody's writing about you in the paper, the greatest impact you can make is already being made. And that's impacting students one by one. So that's the greatest impact. An award is not the greatest impact. Going to a banquet is not the greatest impact. You know, and let me say this to you. If you're making an impact, somebody knows you're making an impact. Somebody sees that you're making an impact, and somebody's feeling the impact, whether it's their grandson that you're helping, a mother that you're helping, and they don't have to have their child buried, or they don't have to have their child go to prison. Like, you might think it's insignificant, those pizza parties. You may think taking kids to the movies is insignificant. Let me tell you something. Every child you keep off the streets and every child you help get a sense of purpose, man, you're saving a mom from having to do a funeral or having to switch her whole schedule up because she got to catch a train and a bus and then spend hours waiting in the line to see her child behind bars. You know, like that process is, and you just don't walk up and go see your baby and then walk out. It's like you just had to spend the whole day to spend an hour with your child if they're incarcerated. And so you're making a difference. And I want you to know that. But talk to us, Vondell. I know you're doing some exciting things. And also speak to the Vondells in the world that's making a difference. And you didn't always have this, you know, it wasn't all, you know, you didn't have the gear all, you didn't get the champ, you didn't have the gear, you weren't getting the shoes. Right. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? There was a time that this right. you weren't the big eyes weren't seeing you. You know, give the people some hope and tell us what we're doing in this Chi. What's happening in the Chi?
Hey man, there's some major things happening in Chicago. Yeah. And you know, there's a scripture that says, despise not small beginnings. I remember the time when we were coming out of our own pocket just to provide food for the young men on Saturdays and us coming up and saying, hey man, let's go get some chicken wings and let's get some spaghetti and, you know, some salad for the young brothers. And we all like pitching in to make it happen. And I remember those days. Those are the days that keep me grounded. Because I'm like, man, yeah, God is opening up some amazing doors right now. And just recently, we got that official email from Michael Jordan and the Jordan brand, which is like, I mean, that's major. Because everybody know Michael Jordan don't really attach his name to a lot of things. And so for me to know, and he knows about champs, but we've never like connected directly to him. And so to get that, it was just like, it was a sign to say, hey, 2023, they said, keep it quiet. He's going to make an announcement. We will on behalf of Jordan Brand on his birthday. And they made the announcement. And then we, through the partnership of Chicago Bulls, who we partners with, was like, come on in, let's make the official commercial / thank you video to Jordan Brand. They gave us the whole court statue building, and we spent 4 hours there filming. So I can't wait for everybody to see that video. And one of the vice presidents, Howard White for Jordan Brand, he sent me a text and he said, keep going. We see what you're doing. Just keep going. Keep doing the work. And that's what I want to encourage everybody who's out there. You almost like ready to throw in the towel. Don't. Keep doing the work. Keep going. Because as ET just mentioned, it's like, yeah, you're making that impact and it may not be right now, quote unquote, mass impact. So you think, but it's like what Tupac said, I may not change the world, but I'll spark the mind that'll change the world. Yeah, what you're doing, you're sparking the minds that will change the world. Maybe it may not be you that's going to change and explode, but the people and the young people that you're interacting with, whether it's staff or students, teachers, trust me, you're sparking the minds that will change the world. And man, that's just how I feel. And it's like, man, Championship City, it's the winning years, 2023. Let's remember that. Let's keep that in mind.
Championship year.
I love it. My students got to go be on the court for the commercial and stuff. How many of your kids?
So it was 30 mentors and mentees, 23 young men. That was specific. I love it. Okay. And then we had like 7 mentors for the number of completion. So everything was very strategic. And what was so cool, from the drone, the top of the scoreboard, we made the number 23 with human bodies. And so, yeah, I can't wait to see how the editors put it all together. But it was just a great experience. Michael Jordan sent brand new Jordans for all the young men to wear for the commercial, the whole get up, the shirts, the pants, the socks. We were Jordan out. And but again, you know, as I was talking to the young people, this is just the beginning of something great. It's not time to stop and celebrate. We have a lot of work to do, but this helps us get to a level of exposure. And then they said, hey, use our name, use MJ's name, put it out there, be like Mike and donate to champs. You can use that now. And I was like, whoa. So, you know, we want to do some fundraisers and sneaker balls coming up around 23 here in Chicago. So, and then we topped it off. We went to the Michael Jordan Steakhouse downtown to celebrate after the photo shoot. So we had to do that.
That's real.
Real. So that was dope.
That 2.3 ounce.
Yes, sir. Right on Michigan Avenue. Mag Mile. Yes, sir.
Mag Mile. I love it. Katie, you know, I want you to talk about, you know, how it feels, you know, to make a difference, in a student's life. You've been instrumental now, whether it be this podcast or whether it be, behind the scenes, as well as, in a forerunner of making a lot of these things happen. We talk about motivation and inspiration. Talk to the people about just how it feels and what it does for you as a human to just see, the things that are happening and how, kids are, not just reading and critical thinking and whatever, but like really unlocking the beauty of education. They're starting to like make the connection of, wow, school isn't bad. The school environment, there's a lot of great things that happen in the school world. How does that make you feel? And what would you say to other teachers out there that, sometimes around this time, you do kind of get, it's like I've been working since really teachers start end of July sometimes for prepping and all of that, or August, the beginning of August.
All year.
So it's not
really.
it's not September. A lot of people think for us, we go back to school in the Midwest in September, but it's all year. Talk to your peers.
Yeah, I think it's important to always remember that we're seed planting, right? That you're not always going to get to see the results seed planting. And that I think is the hard part as an educator, especially depending on what students you're working with or what grade levels you're working with. Our elementary teachers, we love you too, and know that like you're seed planting in a major way, and you don't always get to see what these kids grow up to be like and the major impact you make for them and their families. But when you were talking about, keeping kids off the streets and out of jail and those kind of things, I was also thinking like, and you're making them become learners and readers. And what does that have? What kind of long-term impact does that have for so many students too? So just keep your focus on the work and the seed planting, and knowing that you don't always get to see the result, but that someone sees the result, like you said, whether it's moms or grandmas, or it's just God, or it's in your heart that you're doing good work. And then when you do get to sometimes see the results, I think it's important to hang on to those moments. So sometimes I would like to print, if somebody sent me a picture or a note, a former student, I would like to print those or have it down. I could like hang it on my bulletin board or something, so you can keep the focus on those, because you don't always get them very often. And Vondale, it's interesting, you were talking about some of your mentors. One of your mentors was on the trip with us recently when we did the youth exposure program at the Super Bowl. And we had a great conversation about how he meets with students at the library every week. And I don't know if he told you this story already, but I was just talking about like, how do we renew the students' interest in reading especially at the middle and high school level, but also this time of year when they're kind of losing the steam a little bit. And so I talked to him about like, hey, get your librarian involved, your local librarian, have her do a tour of the library, ask her to put some things on display that are like of high interest to the kids. I bet you'll be surprised that these boys will like start getting interested in checking books out when they meet you at the library every week. And just the week after that trip, he sent me a bunch of pictures through text of all of your young men at the library checking books out and on a tour with the librarian. And it was so exciting. And so those little pieces, right, like from that one conversation was making large impact for those kids. And so like I saved those pictures because I want to make sure that we remember that, that impact expands farther than we always think it will.
I love it. That impact expands much further beyond what we're capable of even understanding. And I think a lot of times, Katie, we give up.
Absolutely.
Because some of us are so obsessed with the obvious. We're so obsessed with the obvious. And what I mean by that is we're so obsessed with what we see and what we can measure, right? And for those of you who are watching, who are, believers, faith unlocks a whole nother world to us, and faith is one of those things that, it gives you an opportunity to co-labor with God and just do some things that just like you're not capable of doing on your own. It's like you just can't, you couldn't do that by yourself, and there's some things that's happening to me. Somebody came to me recently and I thought it was weird because I couldn't imagine it because I'm like in faith. But somebody was like, how are y'all able to send 41 kids and chaperones to the Super Bowl? How y'all able to send people to Dubai? People don't do that. And it's like, yeah, you're right. When we're in our natural, we can't do it. But when we're in our supernatural, we can do it. Right? So you're right. Like the average human is not thinking about people outside of their own kids. But that's what happens when you operate in the spirit. This is why we're saying it's so important to know God, because when you know God, you're not just looking out for yourself and for your own family. You're looking out for the body of Christ. You're looking out for, and that's why you see this podcast. You see so many of us coming on, because we are brothers and sisters, and we do understand, like, this is not Vondell's work. Vondell is just blessed to steward, those kids in Chicago. This is not Katie's work. Like, Katie don't have a monopoly on literacy, but God has stewarded her with the task of, I'm not the only person in the world that motivates, right? But God has stewarded me to motivate a certain group of people. And so then when we all come together, so really what I want you to do is I don't want you to go, this child is so bad and they're never going to be able to, because they cannot go beyond you understand, this is crazy. Like, you understand the responsibility that we have, as believers. Like, if we think they can't do it, then they think they can't do it. Yeah. But if we think they can do it, they're like, man, Eric thinks I can. But look, I was in Rikers Island a couple of days ago, and I did Q&A, and the kid asked me, he said, was it hard writing your book? I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. What's hard is committing. Like, what was hard was, keeping my schedule with my writing coach. You know what I'm saying? When I got a bunch of stuff going on in the world, I was like, that was probably the hardest part, is like keeping journaling, daily, and bringing stuff out of my brain that happened when I was 16 years old, and he said to me, probably 21 years old, I don't know how much time he has in prison, but he said to me, you think I could write a book? Wow. And I said, think. The mere fact that you asked me is telling me that you could write a book. You wouldn't even think, we don't think about what we're not capable of doing. Yeah. Nobody says out of their mouth something that they can't process in their mind. We only say what we know. So I never talk about physics and engineering. Like, that's not even something that crossed my mind. You know what I'm saying? I think about people, inspiring people, and helping people. And so I said to him, absolutely, you can do it, 1,000%. And I'm going to help you in the process. And I said, well, what have you done so far? He's like, well, the last 3 years, I said, 3 years, you've been like, you didn't quit in 3 years. You still been, He's like, yeah, but I didn't finish. I said, but 3 years and you still didn't give it up. Like, you're still thinking about it. It's still important to you. I was like, no questions asked, you can get it done. And I said, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to send you a list of what you need to do. I'm going to send that list to you of what you need to be doing every day. And so, guys, I was so excited to be in that, I don't know what I want to call it, because I don't want to use the term that they use. And it was funny. We were in a space and they had Black history. They had all the pictures up there, and I did something unique, y'all. Because the kids kept saying, well, I'm incarcerated. I said, no, don't speak how they speak about you. I want you to speak as if you had never been incarcerated before. I want you to speak that way. And so I said, look on that wall. Who's on the wall? They was like celebrities, actors and activists and whatever. I said, look at that list again closely. Everybody on that list is like celebrity. It was like, yeah, they all celebrities. People know them, love them. I was like, oh, okay. Anybody on that list been to jail? They was like, yeah, it was a bunch of them. I said, oh, okay, let's talk about the people that Nelson Mandela was in jail. I was like, absolutely. What did he do when he was in jail? And they was like, man, I was like, he won a Nobel Peace Prize. And they got a big statue of him up, and he's changed the world. I said, who else we got up there? Martin Luther King. I said, what did he do when he was in jail? He wrote some of his greatest speeches is when he was in jail. I said, who else up there? Malcolm X. I said, Malcolm X didn't become a great person until he went to jail. He was terrible before when he was out. He didn't become a great human until he went to prison. And so we talked about it, and I was like, yo, guys. And so it's my job as an educator to not paint the picture that already exists. It's my job as an educator to paint the picture that hasn't existed. And so instead of us talking about prison, we talked about, yo, who are you going to be when you get out of here? What are you going to be when you get out of here? What are you going to do? And they was like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I said, well, do me a favor. When you go back to your cell, let's spend time in our cell becoming that. So when we get out, we already there. Let's not wait till we get out. Let's start right now. And they were just like, I never thought about that. And I said, can I be honest with you? If you actually change while you're here, they're not going to be able to hold you forever if you really changed. If you really change, God will open up some doors because he knows you changed, and he'll do some things for you that he didn't do before because you weren't the person you are going to become. And man, when I tell you they was so ready to go, they was like, let's go. So I just want to say to our educators out there, our job is not just to focus on the present. Our job isn't even to, I don't believe, you guys can chime in on this, but I don't believe as an educator that I really teach. Like, I don't believe that I get in somebody's brain and make them, I don't believe that. I believe that I have the ability to help young people understand that they have a mind and that they haven't really been using it, or they haven't been using it to the greatest of their capacity. And my job is just to be an ambassador of them understanding who they are and using the gifts that God, has given them. So, yeah, I just want all my educators out there to, whatever. But anyway, we talked about it. It's March. And, March is, the weather's changing a little bit for the good, a little bit more sun, a couple more warm days. And a couple of those warm days, you may not feel like getting up and going to work, or while you're at work, you want to go outside because you see how beautiful it is. As educators, we've all been in the classroom. We've all been in the classroom for multiple years, and we've all been in the classroom with students, K through 12. What did you do, Katie, when you felt burnt out? Because look, it's a job where, and I want to say to all my educators, I know this is going to be challenging, but you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You got to take care of yourself. So Katie, being a wife, having kids, still teaching, being a daughter, I always forget that part because our parents also have, they want to be with us and they have their dreams and goals of the time they want. So I often say a father and a husband, but my mom and dad, they got a monopoly a little bit on my time as well. So Katie, being all of that, what did you do to not burn out and to still be able to be a blessing to your babies?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll just say, so like we can humanize it for teachers that didn't always do this well. Like sometimes it's hard to do, to be all the things that you need to be. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, we've all been there and felt the same way too, right? And I've had good people in my village to remind me of when I needed to maybe do better or switch focus. I specifically heard when he was talking about being a daughter and stuff. My brother is a big influence in my life. And I specifically remember a time he invited us over for a family dinner, and I was working at my master's at the time. And I was like, I can't do it tonight. I'm busy. He's like, what do you mean you're busy? It's dinner time. I'm like, I'm working on my master's. And he's like, okay, well, people getting a master's degree still have to eat dinner, right? So it's family time. You're going to need to pause, and you're coming over for dinner. And I was like, yeah. Because sometimes we need our people to remind us, like, you can't just go all the time. Yeah. So I haven't always done that perfectly. I will for sure admit. But really quickly, I will say, when you just said, like, you're looking outside, you want to get outside, like, remember that how those feelings you're feeling, your students are feeling too. So I would just say, if you are looking outside and you're like, man, it's the first sunny day, I wish I was out there, then go out there and take your kids with you. So I would often tell my students, like, hey, grab your stuff, grab clipboards, and we'll go do our stuff out in the courtyard today. Or we'll go for a walk or something like that. If you can do that on your campus or whatever with your kids, just get a little bit of sunshine. Remember, your students are feeling antsy if you're feeling antsy, and it's okay to pause and change things up. Not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of your kids too.
I love it. And in some environments, for those of you like, well, we can't go outside. Okay, sure. You can create outside. Pull the shades up if you can, or bring in some light. Because light makes sense. I've been working with Jalen in different videographers, and I'm starting to realize how important light is, right? And even for my wife with MS, when we couldn't be in California, I bought this thing called the light, right? And you plug it up, and it's supposed to, give the body this sense of sunlight. And you're supposed to look in it, and it creates this vitamin D, but it's not sun, but it's artificial. And in the Midwest, depending on what time of year it is, you may need to genetically modify some sun. But another thing my son did that I thought was phenomenal, when he moved out, and I didn't even know he was paying attention like that, but when he moved out, he literally bought plants for his home. So he bought nice plants, so teachers put some plants, in your room, and then put some life in there, music, man, music can change everything, put that music on. I was telling Jalen the other day, I was like, yo, son, you're an adult now, so the way, you may have experienced a bad day when you were a kid, you have a lot more autonomy. You don't have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't have to accept what is. You can create what you want. And so he had got into one of those fender benders, but it was no real damage. But you got to get out and you got to do all of that. So he's like, man, Dad. And I was like, no. That was a second that happened in your life. Well, how long did that take? 10 minutes? It's 24 hours in a day. You can't let 10 minutes destroy your whatever. Because he called me, I went in the coaching mode. And then he sent me I loved it. He sent me a picture of an album. Of course, he didn't have the LP, but he took the cover and sent it to me. It was lovely day. And I was like, there you go. I'm like, yo, change. Don't let that circumstance seep into your brain. You can decide what you let seep in your brain. And so he started playing, a lovely day. A lovely day. I mean, I'm just getting excited, just hearing it in my brain, right now. And I just think of sun, and I think of water and the beach, and palm trees. I'm not in one right now, but that song, I see myself with my family. You know what I'm saying? I see myself with my loved ones. I see myself working with the kids at Champs. I see myself at the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a lovely day. You know what I'm saying? A lovely day. And he repeats it. A lovely day. Why? Because sometimes you have to repeat. So I just want to say to all of my educators out there, whatever day it is, you don't have to consume that day if it's not a lovely day. And in your space, you guys can stop and play music and sing a lovely day, and then get everybody's attention back, and then go to, doing whatever you do. So again, we don't have to be obsessed with the obvious. We don't have to be obsessed with the obvious. All right. Hey, somebody wants a posse, a young podcaster. Let's go. A young podcaster.
There we go. Manifest it.
Yeah. That's it. So talk to us. Yeah. Talk to us, Vondell. What have you done? What works? What would you say? Don't do that. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think for me, we have to be mindful of the seasons, right? It is getting darker earlier. We have a spring break coming up. Use it. Use it as a pause session, reflection session. If you can get away and try not to take your work with you. I'm looking forward to spring break this year. My wife is having a rough year as a principal. There's a lot of dynamics happening in all of the schools. Every school that I go to, and we're in 12 schools, Champs. So we in the West Side, South Side, Calumet City. And every time we go into the school, there's like a relief, like y'all here. Let me tell y'all what's going on with the kids. Take them boys and y'all deal with them. We need a break for an hour. And I say, good, we got it. And what I've noticed is so many people getting stressed out, and they allowing the day to just throw them around, E. And I'm telling them, like, man, find a way to get resolved, find a way to go away and pray and just slow down everything, because you're not going to solve every problem overnight. And then keep perspective, right? This is the long game. We're talking about a marathon, not a sprint. And so when you have opportunities to take those breaks, utilize those breaks, and do not feel guilty about taking a break. Trust me, it's there for a reason. You need it, utilize it, and I guarantee you'll come back much stronger with that deeper perspective on like, hey, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can. I believe that, my children are in a place where they can grow and learn and then feed off their greatness and their energy. And I like to do the pies, right? How are you physically? How are you intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually? And so we use that acronym to keep us grounded. So our young people are having a time of reflection, and we're also modeling in front of them. This is how I feel physically. This is what I'm doing intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. But use those break moments to really take a break and give yourself permission to relax just a little bit. You deserve it.
Yeah.
I love that. I get to see you ask your students that on the trip. And I loved.
Oh yeah, you saw us do it.
Yeah, each of those. And I just felt like they're like such mature answers that they knew how to answer all of those things. Really, really loved that.
Yeah. They're authentic selves too. And because it's a practice of like, this is how we change things. We use this platform and we have the ability to share our authentic selves.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, I hope you guys got as much out of today as I did. One of the beautiful things about doing this podcast is I get to contribute, but also get to learn, and just watch out for us, y'all. We're doing some amazing things in this world to change some lives and really set the next generation up for success and really make America, a great place. And we believe that a part of our greatness as a country and as individuals, as families, starts in schools. We believe that schools is a major fabric in the makeup of the United States of America. We believe that with all our heart, and so we're not going to give up on our educational system. We're not going to be a part of the problem. We're going to be a part of the solution. So if you're out there and you need some consultants, you need some support, we're here. We each, have our diverse skills and backgrounds, expertise. As a unit, we can come in and do some training and development. If you're looking for a program, you got all the playbook champs. We here for you. All right. So as always, Katie, what is that at whatinfo.com? What is that again?
Yes. info@massimpacteducation.com.
I told you.
And we're getting some really great things coming in there. We're hearing about really great work. So it's been good.
Good. I absolutely love it. Hey, it's time now to go to B's office, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry about my little sneaker inner over here.
Oh, you good.
I'm checking to see if Sam. I don't see Sam here. And she said, I'm just going to check in with her to see if she's still planning to join or if we should end here.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give her 1 minute to answer us. If she does join, I'm just going to have her, we'll just go right into the same link, and then we'll just have Isaiah cut it for her.
Got you. Is your program virtual, Vondale, or you guys are physically at the school today?
Oh, it's all physical. And I know Michigan snowed out, but we're in school. It's snowing here, but we all in school here in Chicago.
Okay.
So, we got 3 physical locations today. So I'm I'm actually texting 3 of my mentors that's kind of covering because we got a session in 7 minutes. I'm just making sure they got there safe. One of them just said, yeah, I'm here. I'm like, cool.
You want to say hi?
Good morning.
I told Vondale, hope he woke up with fever in the night. So she's
yeah, that's the worst.
She's feeling it.
I'm glad she's feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, you need to cater to
Train loves Hopi's wild hair. This is always his favorite thing. When families are chatting. Hopi's got that wild hair, don't you? Can you say good morning? Yesterday, I have been listening to the S2S podcast on my phone, and then I got in the car with my son, and then went out, to get something, and he was in the car, and your phone just automatically starts playing over the car radio sometimes. So I went out to get something, and got back in, and I was like, "Are you in? Are you all set?" And Noah's like, "Yep, just listening to ET." It was radio.
Love it. I tell Gary V all the time. I said, Gary V, that's why I don't cuss. I said, Gary, you can't talk to the kids. Yeah, I tell Gary all the time, that's why you can't talk to the kids, Gary.
Yeah, Gary be going off, man. Every other word.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, Sam is saying, I'm so sorry. They're pulling me into a meeting. So
no problem. We got it. I'm told you Saturday I'm free, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Just let me know. This is good. Early the better. You know, I promised Dee Dee, 6:30-ish, 7-ish. We start having our little worship series. So, man, y'all get up at 9. That let me do 6. So I got an hour. So just let me know I'm ready.
Okay, I'll coordinate with
Appreciate y'all.
All right, everybody. All right. Happy weekend.
Hey, you too.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Principal's Office here at Mass Impact, the Education Podcast. And today's episode was all about the impact that we've made up until this point in the year 2023. Now, the first thing I want you to do is celebrate how far you have come. We know that these school years do not go by quickly, despite what some people may say, oh, it'll fly by so fast. No, it doesn't. We know that this is a day-by-day process, and we want to celebrate you, and we think that you deserve to celebrate yourself for your accomplishments up to this point in the year and how far you have come, the progress that you've made, and the impact that you have created in your students and in your classrooms. That is worthy of celebration. That is worthy of affirmation. And we just hope that we can be that spark that starts you to believe in the magnitude of what you've been able to accomplish up until this point. So with that being said, the next step is, how do we perpetuate that impact throughout the remainder of the school year? How do we keep this going? How do we keep the momentum and the energy high throughout the rest of 2023? And I believe that the answer is always going to come to writing it down. I'm a big believer in journaling exercises, and I think that the only way to really crystallize what's in somebody's mind is to either say it verbally or to write it down with the written word. And so what I'd like you to do is grab a pen and a pad and just write down a few benchmarks. I want you to write down daily. I want you to write down weekly. I want you to write down monthly. And I want you to write down yearly. Daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And what I want you to do is start to become very intentional about the impact that you would like to create. Because see, the impact thing, we always like to go into the classroom and say, I'm making an impact just by me being here and pouring into these kids and being a positive influence in their lives. I'm making an impact. And that is 100% the truth. And that's something you should be very proud of. However, there's an opportunity to take the impact from passive to active. There's an opportunity to take the impact from almost impact by osmosis, just being in the same room, just your own presence, just being there, and shifting that to saying, how can I become intentional and deliberate about the impact that I'm making? How can I take this from where it is now to a truly massive level of impact simply by becoming more intentional, more specific, more precise, more exact with the type of impact that I'm attempting to create in the students in the classroom. And so what I want you to do is go through each of those timelines, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and just write down what are some things that you can do to create a massive impact, and make it specific to the remainder of 2023. Don't reach so far that it seems unattainable to you, but just put down a couple of things that you can do between now and the end of the school year. So for example, if you say that every single day I'm going to greet a student who walks into my classroom and ask them a question about their personal life, whether that might be sports or a club that they're into or a television show I know that they watch, whatever that might be, I'm going to ask them a question when they come into the classroom about their personal lives and create that connection. Because as we say over and over again on this podcast, connect before you correct. So creating the relationship, creating the connection, creating all of the back and forth that is required for positive instruction. And so what I want you to do is say, as soon as I write that down, can I begin to look for opportunities to make that happen? And the amazing part about all of this is once it's written down, your brain will almost start to do the work for you. Your brain will begin to look for opportunities to execute the task that you have given it. Because when you wrote it down, you made it real. It went from intangible to tangible. And when that happens, your brain says, oh, this is real. I need to work on ways to make this happen, to turn this into a reality. And now as soon as students come through the room, your brain says, oh, I remember that Matt said he was doing football this semester. I should ask him about how practice has been going. And all of a sudden, these things will begin to naturally develop, but only if you're clear and specific and precise and exact on the target that you're trying to reach, because we will never hit a target that we're not aiming for. So what's that daily goal? Then what's the weekly impact goal? Maybe this is something that isn't fully realistic to do every single day, but once a week we can get to it. What about monthly? Again, not plausible to do it every single day and maybe not every single week, but once a month a special occasion rolls around and I want to do something special and creative for my classroom. What's that thing for you? And then last but not least, yearly. What's your yearly impact goal? All right. So this episode is twofold. Number one, we're celebrating how far we've come. Number two, we're anticipating how far we're going to go. Between those two things, you're going to have a phenomenal balance between maintaining your energy, your motivation, your momentum, and being proud of what you've done so far in the school year. And you will also be able to look ahead and plan a little bit on the impact that you would like to create moving forward. And just by becoming intentional and deliberate about it, I can almost guarantee that your productivity in impact will double or triple just because you wrote the vision and made it plain. That's all for this episode of Mass Impact, the Education Podcast. We'll see you on the next one.